bringing politics to the party. With just a month until the midterms, politics is moving into the heart of Wilton Drive. A new Get Out the Vote Center is a joint effort between the Dolphin Democrats and the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. In this week's SFGN, online now and on stands tomorrow, I look at the only LGBTQ Get Out the Vote Center in Florida and its strategic importance. Located at 2348 Wilton Drive, it's right across the street from the Manor, which is a popular club, and lots of LGBTQ businesses and restaurants are in the area. This is an opportunity to put politics front and center to an LGBT community who doesn't often pay much attention. Bud Beehler, one of the organizers, told me, quote, "One primary goal is to educate voters on candidates who are running and are supportive to the important issues of LGBTQ voters, including women's rights, trans rights, immigrants, and the economy," end quote. The center already has signs in the windows and hopes to have a grand opening this weekend. With the election so close, there will be no days off. The center will operate every day until Election Day, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Fridays, 9 to 9 on Saturdays, and noon until 7 on Sundays. The first goal is registering people to vote. The last day to register anywhere in Florida is October 11th. After that, they'll stock a variety of yard signs, window signs, and bumper stickers for local and state candidates. Boosting enthusiasm is key after lackluster turnout in the August primaries. Mail-in ballots are already arriving for those who are registered. Early voting is October 24th through November 6th, and voting day is November 8th. More details and interviews are in my article in South Florida Gay News, online now and on stands tomorrow. And they've been working for several weeks to try and line up a spot specifically on the drive. Because, you know, Al, you and I have talked about this often when we're out and about on the drive, that what we do here, nobody at whatever restaurant or bar we're at probably is even aware of the issues that we're discussing. And they want to make sure this is where people can go. They will be visible. They hadn't gotten their all their insurances in line yesterday, so they put out a card table with some signs out front on the sidewalk, and they said, well, they'll just do that until they get insurance or the city makes them stop. So don't tell anyone.
And this is the first of its kind, correct?
First of its kind in
Yes.
the entire country.
And they're expecting some VIP top tier candidates, former office holders perhaps.
It's fantastic. I'm so excited to hear about this. I can understand that, you know, we often say, all right, everybody's not going to be aware. But those of us that are need to put up a card table in the middle of Wilton Drive, right? And make as many people aware as possible. I'm thrilled about this. Please get registered, though. You cannot vote if you're not registered.
Yeah,
absolutely true. You know, John, I think, says probably the single most important thing related to this, which is potential former politicians. Now, that is code. Everybody knows what John's talking about, and so we won't add more to that.
Oh,
however,
do they?
Well, hopefully. But even if they don't, they will. Because what happens in doing this voting center on Wilton Drive is everybody, it is being financially supported in various different ways, including candidates that have been endorsed by the Dolphin Democrats and the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. The Democratic Caucus, Stephen Gaskell is the president, has 20 chapters across Florida. What will happen is this will elevate the presence of everyone that's running for office to come through to Wilton Drive. When you come into South Florida, if you're a statewide candidate or if you're a national candidate, you come to Wilton Drive because you're going to come to the LGBTQ voting center. Now that means, as John reports in his story, we can report that it is for sure going to open. There's going to be an opening event, a private opening event on Saturday at 4 o'clock, and the voting center is going to be launched by Congressman Val Demings, running for U.S. Senate. And she's going to be there and speak, and everybody is eventually going to be there, because if you come into South Florida, you're going to go to this LGBT center because they want to embrace the LGBTQ community, whether you're a former candidate, let's hope a big one, comes, or whoever else. They're going to come to Wilton Drive. And every time they come to Wilton Drive and they stand in front of that building on Wilton Drive, they go in and speak, Press covers them. John's going to cover them. Al's
there.
going to cover them. And everyone in Wilton Manors and Fort Lauderdale and Broward County and South Florida are going to know another one and another one and another one. And they bring attention to the election in unique ways that are just, we want to turn the television off. There's so many commercials. This is getting to LGBT voters in a completely different way.
Hey, there's one thing you could put on your sign, just a suggestion. You know, some insurance companies have decided that they're not going to pay for PrEP, right? Have you guys heard that? So if someone isn't aware of politics and they're not really interested in politics, but they're on PrEP and they want to continue to get PrEP, they need to pay attention to who's in office, right? They need to pay attention to our lawsuits. They need to pay attention to when we're being discriminated against. When insurance company says, I'm not going to pay just for your medication for the gay guy. Right? Like, we'd rather you get HIV than to protect you. This is horrible stuff, right? So if you need to get their attention on the drive, put up a sign about that.
And it's
try to insure your home.
But to your point, it's about micro issues now. The people who are absolute Democrats are already going to vote Democrats. The people who are absolute Republicans are going to vote Republican. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, and in Florida, it always comes down to a couple of points. And it's about
what's affecting your life?
The micro pockets of voters, the people who their health care, their HIV meds are important to them. A myriad other issues. And last week, CNN moved the Rubio seat into its top 10 most vulnerable seats to flip. Now, 3 points is a landslide in Florida, but it's not an insurmountable obstacle a month out. So it's really exciting, and we are the microcosm, the micro pocket of voters that could help move that needle just the little bit that it needs.
Exactly right.
My hope, though, is that voter turnout for the midterms, the primaries, the governors is more supported. It's so disappointing every year to see that, well, every presidential election has so much energy and creates so much buzz and there's so much passion, but what about locally? Like, I think people always want like the president to blame, but I feel like you're not even invested in what's happening around you locally, which affects you directly. My hope is that this voter center can, and not just this voter center alone. I think one thing about us here on this stage and about us in general as a community is that we have so many mobilizers and leaders and innovators who can find ways to actively work together and come up with some campaign to actually excite people about voting, because there is not a lot of excitement. People always want to avoid politics, but it's a necessity.
You know, one more thing, because we've got to get to this burning major story.
Do you see me burning? I'm like, my cheeks are red.
I know. One last thought too. Let's not allow this moment to pass in that I know we all do this, but I constantly, I have lots and lots of friends in California, in Los Angeles, connected with a former show that I worked with. And I always joke, oh, y'all are so yesterday. You're just so yesterday. Because everything that's happening in the LGBTQ community in America is happening in South Florida. This is another example of it.
That's right.
We are reinventing. And that's exactly what the LGBTQ community everywhere needs to do.
Yeah, so take note,
but
folks.
that's what we're good at.
Start a voting center where you're at,
That's
folks,
exactly
all right?
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.